What is whole prey feeding? Feeding whole prey means that you're feeding an entire prey animal fully intact. In the wild, the ancestors of the domestic dog, cat, and ferret hunt and eat a variety of prey animals and leave little to no waste behind. A whole prey animal is the basis on which raw feeders strive to mimic when creating a homemade raw diet. So it's always going to be a great addition to add to their meal rotation if you can source it. Some people new to raw feeding might assume that something like a whole dressed chicken or quail from the grocery store is whole prey, but not quite. While this is partially a whole animal, it's missing the feathers, head, neck, glands, organs, and blood. I'll be going over what's considered whole prey later in this video. What are the benefits of feeding whole prey? Number 1, balance. Whole prey is generally considered balanced. A balanced meal means that all essential nutrients your pet needs on a daily basis is included in the meal. Many nutrients that are deficient in a homemade raw diet are things like iodine, vitamin E, and zinc, to name a few. Oftentimes, whole prey can meet all of these essential nutrient requirements on its own. While this will vary depending on the animal's sexual maturity and age, it's as close to balanced as something can be in its natural state. These nutrients are derived from the fur, feathers, skin, blood, all secreting organs, and glands. Since we're often unable to source all of these items for a homemade raw diet, this is why we fill nutritional gaps with other fresh whole foods. Number 2, fiber from fur and feathers. Fur and feathers can benefit digestion by cleaning the intestinal walls as it moves through. It also helps add bulk to the stool and naturally expresses the anal glands. Number 3, mental stimulation and enrichment. Serotonin and dopamine are released by the brain when dogs, cats, and ferrets rip, tear, and bite down on their prey. Dogs, cats, and ferrets' wild ancestors scavenge and hunt, and our domestic pets still have those instinctual urges. Eating out of a bowl every day is not enriching. Figuring out how to consume a whole prey animal is top-tier stimulation. Number 4, better dental hygiene. Because consuming whole prey forces the animal to chew, your pet will constantly be scraping their teeth with fur, feathers, or bones, which cleans off excess plaque. Why should I feed whole prey if I'm already feeding a balanced raw meal? You certainly don't have to feed whole prey, but it's always great if you can every once in a while. Even though you may be feeding your pet parts of an animal that would otherwise go to waste, like trachea or lungs, there's still much of that animal that goes to waste behind the scenes. Whole prey is the definition of no waste as the entire animal is being consumed. It's also probably the easiest way to feed if it's something that your pet will eat. It's already prepared with essential nutrients all within that one body. Just hand it to them and that's it. What whole prey animals can I feed? This depends on your pet's size. Animals like mice, rats, chicks, hamsters, gerbils, guinea pigs, quail, rabbits, squirrels, small ducks, and chickens are most often fed. As I mentioned before, it's great to feed a variety because not every animal is created the same. Pinkies and chicks are not considered balanced because they're still developing, especially their bones, so they will be a lot lower in calcium. Even the gender of the animal will give your pet a different nutrient profile. Misconceptions on whole prey. Number 1, it's inhumane. It's important to know that most raw feeders opt to and are told to feed already humanely killed whole prey. It is never suggested to live feed as it's not only unnecessary and cruel, but it may also cause harm to your pet during the killing process. Feeding whole prey is no more inhumane than feeding your pet kibble. It's actually quite the opposite, as reputable sourced whole prey is killed quick and painlessly, and above all else, raised really well beforehand, while the meat in kibble, on the other hand, is often from slaughterhouse animals that were in terrible living conditions their entire lives. The remains from the human meat industry have to go somewhere. Number 2, it'll give them parasites. This is true only if you feed a wild-caught animal before deep freezing it. All wild-caught animals must be frozen solid at -4 degrees Fahrenheit for 3 to 4 weeks. Since most parasites reside in the gut and intestinal tract, many prefer to only remove this before feeding. How do I introduce whole prey? Number 1, feed it cut up in small pieces. or in half to expose the familiar flesh that's surrounded by the unfamiliar fur or feathers. Number 2, feed a cut that they're used to eating, like a wing or a foot, but with the fur and feathers included. Number 3, cut the fur and feathers down a bit. On wings, the feathers can be pretty long and confusing at first. Cutting them down will expose some meat. Number 4, sometimes feeding freeze-dried whole prey helps, as the texture is crunchy and more like a treat. If you can get a hold of some whole prey, it's a great addition to feed your pet, even if it's just occasional. And if you want to learn how to properly balance a homemade raw diet to the National Research Council standards, check this video out.